Hey guys, it's Godbars here, the self-proclaimed hip-hop historian, and this is the 405th episode of my series, where I grab a vinyl from my collection, talk about why I love it, what influence it has, and what its place is in the grand scheme of hip-hop. So even though I pretty recently last discussed the late underground legend Sean Price, when I covered his 2012 solo LP Mike Tyson for my last set of modern reviews, I figured I might as well knock out another chapter in this legend's extensive discography, especially considering he is one of my all-time favorite MCs. I could have gone with 2007's Jesus Price Superstar, but since I just touched on his solo output with my previous review, I thought it instead made a bit more sense to revisit the classic duo that Sean P kind of made his bones with. That, of course, being Heltah Skeltah, where alongside Rockness Monster, who's an absolute alien both lyrically and flow-wise, they would release 3 top-tier albums over the years. Well, they were already a part of the super collective boot camp clique by this point, alongside fellow acts like OGC, Smith& Wesson, and Buckshot of Black Moon. They wouldn't drop their debut LP until 1996 with Nocturnal, which most would argue is their magnum opus, and I would probably have to agree, which is why I already reviewed it on the channel a long time ago, so I'll link that review down in the description below if you want to get some more background on those early days of rock and ruck. The reason I won't be dealing with that era too much today is because even though their super underrated sophomore effort, Magnum Force, was released in 1998, their third and final album here wouldn't come out for an entire decade. Until finally, in 2008, we got D.I.R.T, or The Incredible Rap Team, which also ended up being a somewhat underappreciated release in the Boot Camp Clique catalog. And honestly, I think that's at least in some part due to the album's cover art, which I've heard numerous people put down over the years. In fact, there's even a famous video where Sean himself makes fun of it. Maybe I'm just a contrarian, but frankly, I have a similar take for this artwork that I had for Cool Keith or Dr. Doom's First Come First Served, with the only difference being how in that case I truly feel like there's a commentary being made that goes over some people's heads. While with the Heltah Skeltah album here, I don't really think they were trying to make it ugly on purpose. It's really just more of a case of it's so bad it's good to me. Regardless of the cover art though, what really makes D.I.R.T so enjoyable and fun to listen to is how Sean P and Rock are both at the absolute peak of their abilities here, and if you don't believe me, just go watch any of the number of the freestyles they did around this time, and you would be hard-pressed to argue that both aren't on the top of their game here, which resulted in 14 killer tracks full of sharp wordplay, clever punchlines, and flawless vocal chemistry that was pretty much built in from over a decade of friendship. There isn't one remotely whack verse anywhere on this thing, and while the production is mostly solid overall, really the only thing that prevents the Incredible Rap Team from being a bona fide classic for me is the odd, somewhat lackluster instrumental here and there, but those are pretty few and far between. One moment that took me a little while to come around to is actually the first one after the intro, which by the way has a spectacular beat, and while the song that follows has a creepy, almost Scooby-Doo-esque piano loop that I don't mind, in fact it fits the theme of the track pretty well, I've personally never been a big fan of the hook for this joint, and I totally see what they were attempting to do, but in my book this opener is completely saved by the verses, which are so dope that they've managed to render it as a moment I never skip. In fact, the performances are so stellar here, I want to share Sean Price's first set of bars since they have some of my favorite lines on the entire project, which he starts with, "Yo, Malcolm X before he converted to Islam, house burglar, wake up and your shit gone. My life is like a movie, better yet a sitcom. Planet of the Apes, I blame the cannon in your face, P. Overstand the underhanded ways of Sean P. Set trap, get clapped like the dude from Saw 3. Dirty Harry gun, the 4-4 clap strong. Put a hole in you in your bullshit rap song. Man, my flow is so spectacular that Marshall Mathers be wishing I go back to Africa. Ha! Joke I kid, like I smoke my coke in a cig, you dig. P. I be the first to burst the heat, clown. Wrong math rappers catch a universal beatdown. Sean is the best. You ain't a close second, peep the bronze on his neck, bitch. I gotta show Rock some love as well, and while he has a lot of memorable moments on here, I chose to pull from his closing verse on the track WMD, where he finishes out the posse cut rapping, "It go 9mm, Mac 10, Mac 11, 12 gauge, have your monkey maggot ass on channel 7. Telling like they shootin', that's just how we making you duck down. This go round, what up now?" He said, "What now? You the old mattress about to get drugged out. Like me, I'm so addictive, I'm the newest drug out. With guns out, ignorant birds, we dumb foul. Run out of shells and your ingrown hairs get plucked out. Get smacked with a cap on Kung Lao. Rock a pocket rocket, put a drop top on Run's house. I ain't talking about horizons when I say sun down, sun down. Down for the count, it was just one round. Give me two of those gats that Bruno had on Pluto now, and only on them who hold gat. Ain't that false advertisement? I should sue those. I'm just playing, you know that. Fuck around these days, these dirty DAs'll do your raps. Not guilty, but I do know gats. Think about it, like, seriously, is it true or all raps? When I say I put a hole the size of my boot in your back? There's a pretty good amount of featured artists who make appearances on this farewell LP, including Don Rocco, Young Jamin, Bummy Fly Jab, Alcatraz, Buckshot, Rusty Jux, Smith & Wesson, Representatives, and Flood. As for the talented producers who made this thing happen, those included names like Ill Mind, Crisis, Stu Bangas, 10 for the Triad, D.I.R.T, Double Up, Marco Polo, M Phases, Evidence, Sick Beats, and Soul Theory. When it comes to my honorable mentions for this solid listen, I definitely want to shout out tracks like Rock and Roll, The Beginning of the End, Twins, D.I.R.T, So Damn Tough, Insane, That's Incredible, Ape Food, Hell's Kitchen, and Schmack Music. Then for my overall 3 favorites on this one, I think I'd have to trim them down to Everything is Heltah Skeltah, The Art of Disrespectinization, and WMD. Thank you for watching my 405th video. Next time, we are returning to one of the most underrated rappers and producers to ever grace the underground. So check for that one, and if you enjoyed, be sure to like, subscribe, and let me know what your favorite verse is off this final chapter in the Heltah Skeltah saga. Don't forget to have a great day, and I'll see you next time, okay? All right.